fair warning for those of you that, are a little more closed-minded or don't like having these controversial topics talked about. I do say click off this, go watch Teletubbies or whatever else, because we're about to get into some real shit today. As usual, I'm joined by my boy Captions over there, and we're going to be talking about pro-life versus pro-choice.
Yep. Leave it to the Trump supporter to have a disclaimer to say that you need to go watch Teletubbies. No, in all fairness, just on all fairness, this is a topic that me and Justin has been discussing for about a week now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've had a discussion for actually years now. It keeps coming up, but Texas recently passed this law, and Justin, you can weigh on this, but passed a law that you are no longer allowed to have an abortion past 6 weeks, right?
Yes.
So because the first trimester is from week 1 to week 13, so they're basically saying in the middle of your first trimester, if it's week 7 and you want to apply or go get an abortion, you are not allowed in the state of Texas. And this is what brought up this topic and sprung this kind of opinionated debate between me and you, and we're just going to share it with our Coffee Time guys.
Yeah, for sure. And the whole point of this is, again, to create conversation. Like, regardless of my views or even Caption's views, we're not trying to say one of us is right and the other one is wrong. We're just mainly stating what our views are, what our opinions are, and going from there.
Cool. So, how about we start with our first question here, and I'll read it for our listeners or viewers. This is going to be our individual stance on pro-life or pro-choice. Justin, do you want to lead with this, or would you like me to lead?
You can go ahead and lead, because I actually don't. I've said in the past what my stance is, at least in passing in previous podcasts. So I think it'd be interesting for the audience to get your view and what your stance is on this topic.
So to really get my view here and understand where I was coming from, in high school I was approached with this dilemma of everyone wearing red tape or blue tape, and there was this weird dichotomy in high school where it was either red tape or blue tape, and I was just completely out of the know here. I didn't understand anything. So at an early age I was influenced of abortion is wrong, and living in the South, I'm from Louisiana, a small town, Florine, full of terrible people, but it was just it's against the Bible and all of that stuff. So I was a pro-life, red tape wearer and everything, and then being exposed to culture, being exposed to different people and different views, having my views challenged, I became a little bit more pro-choice. But in recent, now that I'm fully at 26, my brain's developed, and looking at the mass of it, I kind of find myself in as you should say, a liberal middle of this, and we're going to discuss that later. But let's hear Justin's stance on this.
Yeah, so mine's actually the opposite. I came in more Democratic. My parents are Democrats. And so it's always been, pro-choice, women's right to choose, everything like that. And it wasn't until a few years back, actually, that I was challenged on this. And whenever I was challenged, I was able to really see where my values lied. And, of course, I'm more pro-life. So, yeah, it's kind of a weird way, how you could start from thinking the complete opposite to changing your mind whenever given new information, new stances. And my thing on pro-life isn't anything to do with religion. I know that's really weird for a conservative to say that, but I'm actually an atheist, and we're a very rare breed when it comes to conservatives and being a Republican to make that stance. But I'm coming at this strictly as, for human life, all this stuff, not necessarily it's against religion or this and that.
All right. Leave it to the. I'm gonna stop picking with you, bro. I will stop picking with you. But yeah, that's our individual stance. So let's get into the question number 2 here that we want to propose and everything. So situations for compromise here. So you're leaning towards, if I'm getting this right, you're more of a pro-life, right? At this
Yeah.
stage of life, and I'm more in the middle here. But where are the situations where a pro-life and a pro-choice can compromise here? Let's discuss that a little bit. And I want you to
Okay.
lead with this.
Yeah, so usually the argument whenever we're talking about pro-life versus pro-choice is the cases of like if a woman is raped or if there's medical issues or one thing that I've been seeing recently is like if it's an underage person.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm all for, of course, pro-life altogether. Like if we can prevent those things from happening, that'd be amazing. Um, but let's just use those examples because that's usually the argument you hear a lot: rape, medical, all these things. And we're most conservatives are willing to have those discussions. Of course, rape is a terrible thing, um, and the woman didn't choose for that to happen. So should she be made to carry that to term? My opinion, no, not so much because she didn't have a choice in that situation. And of course, for medical, in the case like where a woman may have cancer and of course she needs to seek chemotherapy in order to get cured of that or to help with that, of course the side effect would be the death of that child, which is again unfortunate circumstances. But in those cases, we should be able to allow that woman to take care of herself first before the needs of the baby. Because if you lose the mother, then both of them are going to die. So you're trading one life for the other, unfortunately. And these are cases that are extremely rare, and these are not really the cases we talk about whenever we're talking about pro-life. The cases that we're mainly talking about is the other 90 something percent where it's just I don't want this child, let me abort it. So that's the cases where we're coming into. But the compromise we're willing to make is in those very rare cases of those instances happening.
Okay, so what you're saying is rare, and I don't think most people or some people are not aware of this. Is that rarity of underage pregnancy, rape, and we're talking about situations for abortion. Like if the applicant is applying or getting an abortion, if she has been raped, if she's underage, or if it is detrimental to her health or the baby's health. So those 4 things you can group it in. So we looked at some numbers at Planned Parenthood and some other websites. We'll link it below in the description, right below that like button. But it was basically saying, out of all, if you in the totality of this reasons to abort a child, that was around 6 to 7% with those 4 categories involved. The highest percentage is around 26 to 27% of people just feels like it's going to impair their career, or they just don't want the child.
Mm-hmm.
So the situations for compromise here, I believe if we could, because you made a great point yesterday when we were talking about this, Justin. You were like, so let's take those 4 points of underage pregnancy, detrimental health to the mother or the child, then rape, the mother or the child, so 2 points, and then rape, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was like, so let's group those together and let's just say, as a pro-life or a pro-lifer, and what I stand by, let's make a law. If you fall in between those 4 categories, yes, you are allowed to have an abortion.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we allowed that, would the pro-choice people agree to that? And I believe that they wouldn't. And,
Mm-hmm.
it's because the pro-choice, like just being single pro-choice, or what, even with that example, is like you're not by definition as pro-life. You're just you're making a what is it?
Yeah, you're trying to get an emotional response using an emotional scenario
Oh
because
no, I'm not saying that. I'm talking about if we allowed for, if like, hey, we have abortions or not. Like let's just put in this aspect of Texas with the 6-week thing. So it's in week 7 and week 8. A rape victim is pregnant, and she is in week 8 of her trimester. If Texas was like, hey, you can have an abortion because you fall into this category of a rape victim, it's bad for the baby, it's going to be a stillborn or a miscarriage, or is detrimental to your health, and or underage.
Yeah.
So if Texas would regulate the law into that, that would be amazing. Do you agree with that, or?
Well, the only reason why I put the underage thing is because I know that's been a newer thing. With the underage, I don't really necessarily agree that they should get abortions, because my mindset is, if you're making an adult decision to, and this is, I know, covered kind of in a later point, but like, if you make the adult decision to not use protection, because I'm all for contraceptions, Plan B, birth control, condoms, everything like that, or at that age, abstinence in general. I think that they I would, again, I just use that for the example, just showing like, hey, it's actually a less percentage that you're actually talking about. But I feel like they should actually carry it to term, and the parents should be held liable for that, because they allowed this to happen while the child is under their care in that instance. But let's just, for the sake of argument, that we do put that into the category. I think that'd be an absolutely good thing, like, grouping those 4 groups together, saying, hey, like, these are the rare instances that this will happen, and we will allow them to get the medical treatment they need, everything like that, in order to, unfortunately, in the life of that child. And again, these are very unfortunate cases, like especially the medical, especially the rape. Like, these are things that sadly shouldn't happen, but they do happen. This is a truth of life. Like, these terrible things do happen. And I feel for these victims, and I feel for these people that have to go through those decisions and make those life-changing decisions. So we should be able to help them by any means necessary.
All right, so let me give you a little pushback here.
Okay.
So when you're talking about underage pregnancy and you feel like it should be the terms, so what if that underage girl, which this is just cater me here and allow me to make this example, because God, when I'm still underage, but I was not making the best decisions. But let's just say the underage girl, 16 below. Okay, so 16 below. Jesus, this is gross even thinking about a 9-year-old having sex. Anyway, so the underage girl gets pregnant. What if she goes and been like, I use condoms. I used everything that was like readily available to me.
Yeah.
I don't know what the talk is between mother and child, or when you guys when women should start birth control. I don't know anything about that. But let's just say in this perfect scenario, she was on birth control. She used condoms. She did everything except for practice abstinence because she's having sex.
Yeah.
And she still gets pregnant. Why can't that little girl at week 7 or week 8 have an abortion?
Well, first off, holy shit, that's a fucked up situation.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and if you use those extremes, of course, those are, again, situations where we can have those talks. Because if we're just saying, oh, in general, if you're underage but you didn't do these things, then that's where I'm like, okay, you should be carrying it to term. But of course, this is an extreme situation where everything that I've said, contraceptions, Plan B, birth control, condoms, they all failed. Yeah, we could have that discussion. That's perfect.
Okay, never mind. I feel okay now. No, I get what you're saying now.
Yeah.
Because Plan B is a little debatable as well. Some people see that as a basic abortion, but when do you state when it's like the state of pregnancy? Like when? So you're saying that you can use a condom, you're good with contraceptions,
yes,
you're good with a pull-out method. If it works, it works. So whatever, bro. Maria's having another baby. You failed at that. And everything. So contraceptions in all forms and everything like that. But once the sperm hits the eggs, becomes a zygote.
Mm-hmm.
It's on.
Yeah.
No more.
So my thing is life begins at conception, and my identification or my
Definition.
my definition of that is sperm meets egg, fertilizes it, and if left to its natural occurrences, 9 months later, a baby comes out.
Well, let's just go back to my. I just wanted to make that clear to the audience here. But let's go back to my extreme example.
Okay.
Let's just say if she was practicing. Why does it have to be with all contraceptions? Why, if she's like, I'm having safe sex, how did I get pregnant? If she was practicing condoms.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just make it a little less extreme and a little more realistic.
Okay.
16-year-old girl, and I'm saying 16 because I don't want to go anything lower than that, but girl underage, so let's just say that. Underage girl choosing to have sex, has sex, consensual, because this is important here.
Mm-hmm.
Consensual with condom breaks, no one knows. Come on, you're 16, you're a guy who.
Yeah.
Oh, it feels better. Oh my god. This is what sex is supposed to feel like. I don't know.
Yeah.
Get your girl pregnant. Why can't that girl have an abortion?
Because even with the condom, there's always a risk. And that's the thing that's kind of sad. That's not really being taught. Like, I know in school they teach you like the basic stuff like that, but even whenever you use protection while having sex, there is always a risk, just like there's always a risk for STDs or anything like that. So again, these are adult decisions that are being made by these kids. And it's a sad fact that this happens. I mean, I started having sex when I was 15 years old. And my dumbass, didn't practice safe sex because I didn't know any better.
Okay.
And, like, those are situations, but at the same time, I knew I was making an adult decision. I knew that if we do this, there's a risk that the condom will break. There's a risk that...
You did it at 15?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And that's the thing, like, it falls back on the parents, too, and it falls back on the kids, like, having that information.
Well, step outside of your box of you knew, and just step out and just look at the inside the box of this figurative underage girl.
Well, let's use this example, because I have a daughter.
Hold on.
Okay.
I think this is just where your argument like just falls apart here. You're saying you're all for contraceptions, and basically, you're all for that. But if they fail, you got to have the baby.
Well, no. The thing is, whenever you're doing it, you're making the risk. Because the only reason why we talked about the thing was your first example where you do every little thing I'm saying and they all fail systematically. Like all that birth control, whatever.
That was just to set up the point of like, if you believe in contraception, but if they fail, because everything has a fault, there should be a fail-safe plan of abort, right?
No, not necessarily, no. Because, again, since that was such an extreme example, I said that's where we could have the conversation.
Yeah.
Well, contraceptions in general, like if you're doing it and, again, making an adult decision, making an adult risk, knowing that, hey, this condom might break or, hey, this birth control may not work, you're still making the adult decision to have sex.
Yeah, but no, like, dude, I think you're skewed in your knowledge at that age and the general knowledge here, where I don't believe if a girl told me that she's on birth control, I'm like, there is absolutely no way in my mind at the time, because I started having sex around I believe 15 or 16 if I remember correctly, and if she's like, yeah, I'm on the pill, it's free game. Like, not trying to be gross here, but in my mind as a 15-year-old, if I remember this correctly, I was like, oh, there's no way I can get her pregnant. Like, so I'm not going to wear a condom, which is terrible because STDs are real, STIs are real, and everything else. But, I'm not going to wear a condom because, dude, she has the magical elixir that she puts in her body each day or once a month, or the implant. Like, we're good, you know? And so if at someone, like, she's like, I'm pregnant, I'm be like, what the fuck? And then she's like, I want to get an abortion. Like, at a 15-year-old state, I'm like, how could this even happen? I think you need to think about a more general term, not just yourself and, like, the knowledge. I see that you're saying that you need to fall back on the parents and then sex education to educate the risks of, hey, you're on the pill, but, hey, you're using a condom, but if you
Mm-hmm.
don't practice abstinent but, and that but's never really there because it's just a weird conversation.
Yeah.
And I feel like that individual, if you're practicing contraception and underage, you should be allowed to have an abortion. We can talk about, we're going to talk about the time period soon. But
Yeah.
well, let's finish with your point, your point here, and we're going to go to our third point.
Yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily agree on that. I could understand where you're coming from completely. But at the end of the day, I think it's again, the way to stop this, or the way to where they don't get pregnant, yes, safe sex, and of course, again, in the rare instances that these things can happen, we could have that conversation. And again, I'm not saying that I'm right, you're wrong, or vice versa, whatever, but that's just my opinion. Like, I feel like instead of having sex, sorry, like, don't have sex if you're not willing to risk the pregnancy or use any means necessary. Um, Again, I've had unprotected sex. Each time I did that, there was always a risk that some shit could happen. And I had to make that adult decision in my mind to know, hey, this is a possibility. So these kids, like, it's bad now. Like, kids are starting a lot younger and younger, even before they hit puberty. And it's like, this is the fault of the parents not talking to them about taking responsibility for their actions. And we need to be able to step in and be like, look, like, you made this mistake, you need to take responsibility. Like, you decide to make an adult decision, here's the adult consequences. So that's just my opinion.
Okay, well, we're
Agree to disagree.
agree
Yeah.
to disagree.
Yeah.
There's a conversation that needs to be made with the points that you just made, but we need to move on. So point number three here. So Justin, should government regulate laws of abortion, and if so, why?
Okay,
Uh,
so
this is a big point because a lot of people are, a lot of pro-life and pro-choice
mhm.
people like share this opinion where it's just like, why should the government have a say on what happens with my body or what I can do with my body? Why this, and this, and that?
Mhm.
Why can they tell me in the state of Texas that after 6 weeks, so 7 weeks in trimester one, that I can't get an abortion?
Yeah.
Let's go.
The main, of course, the whole slogan for it is "My body, my choice." Correct? Yes.
Oh, yeah, yes. My bad.
Sorry.
I didn't know you were following up with that.
Yeah, sorry. So, the whole slogan is "My body, my choice," but in actuality, sorry, it isn't their body. This is a separate entity with a separate set of DNA. When, again, left to its natural occurrences, will be its own body. So, whenever pro-choicers complain about government interference, first off, you're going to these clinics that are government funded, so of course they're going to have a say in how they operate that, whether they're like, hey, we're going to allow these people that work here to perform these, or whether or not they're going to be like, hey, these are the standards you need to come in. So if you're going to these places that are government funded, that are government ran, of course the government's going to have a say in how your care is going to be, whether you or not you get the abortion, everything like that. And again, it just falls back on the simple science that these are two separate things. Like, yes, you're supplying the blood to the baby, yes, you're supplying the oxygen, but in 9 months, this entity will be completely on its own, breathing its own oxygen, using its own blood, eating its own food, everything like that. So it's not necessarily their body, it's a separate thing altogether.
Well, I think a better way to wrap this up is just to say, let's look at let's go out, if me, an outstanding citizen, I might add, an amazing individual, I also might add,
Very humble too.
and dare I say, the humblest. I would be remiss if I didn't say that. But let's just say I had a bad day. And I'm drinking, man. I'm on a bender at the bar. I take my keys, I get out, I'm like, I'm gonna drive, and I crash into a pregnant woman. And if I kill her and I kill her child, what is the law of that? Do you know?
Yeah, it's 2 life sentences.
Okay. And I don't think that needs further elaboration on the my body, my choice type thing. There's 2 life sentences, and we'll just let you guys, comment below about that, and if you agree with that.
Yeah.
Point number 4, Justin. And this is the ending statement. This is the big one. So, should, Coffee Time Cast here, we're a diverse group, I am a self-proclaimed male. I identify as male on Monday through Monday, 365. Just some banter for some other listeners that always get onto us about that. But we're males, right? We are males,
yes.
Obviously, and should the male group male politicians, anything, have input on abortion?
Yes, absolutely.
Why do you think so?
Because it's just a simple fact that I think Dave Chappelle actually said this perfectly, where he was talking in this comedy special, like, okay, if y'all are choosing to keep the baby or abort the baby or what the choice is, we as men should be allowed to not have to support it if you do decide to keep it or whatever. But everyone is allowed to have an input on certain things. Like, I could have an input on foreign affairs that a country I've never been in, as long as I know what I'm talking about, know about it, everything like that. And because I don't want to use the word opinions, because everyone has a different opinion, everything like that. But the fact that it takes both a male and female to bring this baby to life, and of course there's artificial and things like that. But, yeah, but at the same time, like, between a man and a woman, a biological man and a biological woman, it takes both of them to create a human life. So they should both have the say in what happens to their child, regardless if they're married or their relationship status or what have you.
I say, even if there's a biological woman and a trans male, and if there are artificial insemination, or I don't even know if is that the correct term there, or if they go get a what is it called when you choose your partner as well?
Not a surrogate, but
no, I know they reach out to a male.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, whatever that is called, two people make that decision, right? And if you're a single mom, of course you have to make that decision on your own to abort or to keep. And that monster that left you is in fact, that's what he is, a monster. And if you are a rape victim, we get those examples here for everything. But I think, it's not even, I really hate even phrasing this as should males have input on abortion. Justin went away. Should males have input on abortion? I just think everyone should have input on abortion because it's life. We're all alive, and that's that. So we should all have input in everything. Justin, your camera went away.
I didn't even notice. I'm sorry about that.
It's okay.
I was so focused on your lovely voice.
Yeah, it's just life, and male, female, trans male, trans female, whatever you identify on through Monday through Wednesday, we should all have input on this subject.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, bud. Closing statements. Let's get out of here.
Closing statement for me, just if you do have the opposing view as I do, or opposing view as Captions does, please let us know below. Let us know your arguments. Again, neither one of us is right or wrong. These are just our views. And hopefully we kind of changed some minds out there, or got y'all to think, because, my mind was changed a long time ago. Captions, he's learning things every day. Hopefully, maybe I got him more to my side so he can start wearing that MAGA hat. We'll see.
I will never wear a MAGA hat. Probably as a Halloween costume, just to troll some friends in California that I have. But no, I do not want to wear a MAGA hat at all. But exactly what he said. Like, this is a very touchy subject, and it deserves to be touchy. Like, touchy should not be be read as negative or positive or sensitive. It deserves to be touchy here because it's about life and everything like that. So comment below. Are you pro-choice? Are you pro-life? Are you kind of in the middle with me? Do you wear a MAGA hat? Do you not wear a MAGA hat? Trump 2024 or whatever. But hey, until next time, we out.